Reaves, his Lakers trail 1-0 after a 117-95 loss.
But what did you see in that second quarter to start it, where the game kind of flipped in Minnesota's direction after you guys came out and had a somewhat typical first quarter for you?
They went on a run to start the quarter, and we couldn't find a way to get a bucket, and felt like that affected us on both ends. You're not going to be perfect in the game. You got to figure out ways to play through those situations. And, to be honest, I have to be better at the start of the quarter, which I wasn't. And it resulted in them taking a lead and kind of just having all the momentum from there.
It's a team that you hadn't seen, in full since you guys got your team in full after the trade deadline. What did you notice about them today that was, whether it was similar or different to film, and about what you can take out of this game into game two?
I mean, they're going to play hard every single possession. Offensively, defensively, they're going to be physical, and we have to do a better job defensive rebounding. We gave up too many, second chance points, and then we got to, get back. We can't give up transition points either. So we'll watch the film tomorrow and figure out ways we can be better.
Austin, some of your guys' defensive success this season was deciding what threes you're going to live with and allow. Do you think that game plan had anything to do with their great shooting night from the outside tonight?
No, I think, to start that third quarter, I think they made 3 or 4 in a row, basically all uncontested, and regardless of what the game plan is, you don't want to give up those. We play in the NBA, and regardless of what percentage you shoot, if you have a practice shot, you have an opportunity to make it. So, like I said, we'll watch the film and get better.
Austin, you had a quiet first half by your standards, and then you started to look more comfortable, I'd say, in the third quarter. Like, what did you feel like shifted in the second half for you, and then how would you assess the first half?
Bad. Didn't play very well, and then got a couple shots to go in the third quarter, but through the whole midst of the game, I have to be better. I have to help us control the game better, and like I said, I'll watch the film and get better.
Austin, when you guys have been at your best this year, it hasn't really been a team that's overreacted to things. Like Dave mentioned, like game plan threes. If the game plan calls for you to do one thing and the other team makes a shot, you guys have generally stuck with it. I'm curious, just kind of what was the mood in the locker room post game between like a sense of urgency versus calm after one game in a playoff series when you have to win 4 to advance?
I think that kind of was the mood was you don't win or lose it, through one game. We have an opportunity. I think we play Tuesday, right? To even up the series on our home court, and then go compete for 2 games on their home court. So you never lose the game after the first game, second game, third game. To be honest, you got to get beat 4 times, or you got to win 4 times. So that's the outlook. We know we didn't play very well. We didn't play to our standards, and we'll get better.
You guys were, especially by your standards, pretty inefficient inside the paint, especially in that first half. I think shot 5 for 15 inside the paint. How much of that was something Minnesota was doing versus you guys just maybe missing easy looks that you would typically make on any other night? And how much of that also ignite their transition?
I missed some bunnies early in that first quarter, second quarter, that I'd like to think I'd shoot at a better percentage. And I think as a team, if you ask everybody that missed a couple, that they would say the same thing. And you can't let missed shot affect what you're doing on the defensive end. You still have to get back and compete, and we'll do that on Tuesday.
Austin, pretty difficult to beat anyone, right, who shoots 50% from 3. But at the same time, that's a pretty dramatic shift from the end of the first quarter to midway through the third. I know you got to look at film, but why such a dramatic change in that second and third?
they just played a lot better than us, a lot harder than us, and they did all the things that we wanted to do. Give up offensive rebounds for spray out threes, and like I said, a lot of them were uncontested or a defensive breakdown in our scheme, and we give up, shots that we don't want to give up. When you compound bad with bad, then it's going to get bad. So thought we, competed, at the end of that third quarter to make a little run, and then even to start the fourth quarter. And then, they just made, a couple tough mid-range shots. I think Ant made one. I think Julius made one to kind of fizzle out those runs. But, we'll be better.
I thought we did a pretty good job, to be honest with you. So.
Rudy had a lot of difficulty getting engaged in the first half on offense, especially. Why was it changed so much in the second half? Was it because of what you did, or because of what the way they schemed it, or what?
You talking about with Rudy in particular?
Rudy in the second half seemed to be a little bit more engaged in the offense. He was kind of almost a bystander to some extent in the first half.
Yeah, they were heavy switching him, and I think he, instead of continually putting himself in the action and being active, he was kind of, I think, trying to set up shop, and we didn't do a good job of finding some of those mismatches when they were there. And I think he just, he was calling for it probably a little bit too long, and then, in the second half, he just did a better job of staying in the flow of the game. So.
Chris, you mentioned the bench being really, really valuable for you in this one. Has that just become over the course of the season like a familiar button that you can push, and Dante and Naz come in and it changes like that?
Yeah, of course. We've talked about it in our locker room. We've talked about it in the media. I'm blessed. I really believe we have 8 starter caliber players. When we go to our bench, they've often given us this lift. Wanted to try to stagger them in a little bit tonight. I'm not sure. I think I got Dante in maybe a minute before I got Naz, but just to be able to kind of so they can come in super aggressive. Spoiled for choice there. So.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you about, Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah.
He does a lot of things that aren't even on the stat sheet, and then also Jaden, too, as well, on the offensive glass. 9 of 11, only missed 2 shots. I just really like the way those two played.
Yeah, it's, you need those types of performances. I thought Dante was great, too. He had a lot of just kind of gritty plays. The backdoor cut was huge, and the finish at the right time. I thought he battled his tail off defensively, got switched on to both LeBron or Luka. And Nickeil was the same. Those guys they give you everything they got. They are glue guys. They can make shots. They can have big nights. They create flow and rhythm for their teammates. And then they guard, and they like to guard. And, they're really fun players to coach.
One more, please.
With the bench, Chris,
Yeah.
a lot of people look at a bench and they say, oh, yeah, those are good players.
Yeah.
Or the bench, this brings good energy. But your bench injects just the right brand of basketball and the brand that you seek. What is the value of that specifically?
I think they play with a little bit more pace for sure. I think that the other side, I don't dislike the brand of basketball that the starters play with. It's just different. That's one thing I think that is a strength of ours. We can play different styles. We can go to different lineups. We can change the complexion of the game. We focused on trying to play faster from about December on, and